Tonight, the historical presidential debate a short time from now will carry it on ABC Live. President Biden and former President Trump about to face off in Atlanta. President Biden arriving late today and Donald Trump arriving just moments ago. A rematch 4 years later, both ready to make their case before the American people tonight. The first debate between a sitting president and a former president. Strict rules in place tonight, no audience, the mics muted when it's not their turn to talk. Our team is all here tonight. This evening, the major abortion ruling from the Supreme Court. 24 hours after that court document was mistakenly posted online, the justices officially issuing their decision today, testing state abortion bans and deciding whether women whose health is at risk should be allowed an emergency abortion in the ER. What the court has decided for now. Tonight, the new blow for Boeing, the NTSB sanctioning Boeing for revealing details to reporters about what caused that door plug blowout at 16,000 feet. Tonight, Oklahoma, effective immediately, requiring all grades 5 through 12 to teach the Bible in the classroom. Tonight, the state calling the Bible a, quote, necessary historical document. Deadly storms in the Northeast, a man killed by a falling tree. We're also tracking a new round of severe weather from the plains all the way into the Northeast. Possible tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail. In New York City tonight, the apartment building on fire, a flaming e-bike catching fire, and what authorities are now warning. Tonight, Walgreens revealing plans to close hundreds of stores. Dramatic images showing the moment a huge sinkhole 100 feet wide opening on a soccer field in the middle of this country. The field disappears. The Dodger bat boy to the rescue, his quick reflexes saving their $700 million superstar. And the breaking headline tonight, it's apparently father and son now for the LA Lakers. And the presidential debate will carry it right here live on ABC a short time from now. What you need to know going into tonight.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here at a very busy Thursday night. The Supreme Court ruling on abortion, the severe storms from the plains to the Northeast. We're tracking it all. But of course, we begin tonight here with the historic debate just a short time from now. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. The first debate between a sitting president and a former one, the two oldest major party candidates ever, 78 and 81. We will carry the debate live right here on ABC just a short time from now. The two candidates will appear on this debate stage right here in Atlanta. Their podiums right there are about 8 feet apart. There are strict rules in place tonight. No audience. The mics will be muted when it's not their time to speak. President Biden arriving late this afternoon at Dobbins Air Reserve Base in Marietta, Georgia, after spending the better part of this past week in debate prep at Camp David, holding mock 90-minute debates. Donald Trump arriving a short time ago at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. No mock debates for him, but some policy sessions with advisors behind the scenes. Trump has said he's been preparing his whole life for this. Tonight, we will break it all down, including where this race stands going into tonight. Several new national polls out in the last 24 hours where they show this race right now and why each candidate needs a very strong showing tonight to move the needle, given how close this race is. ABC's Rachel Scott leading us off tonight at the debate site. She's in Atlanta for us.
President Biden arriving in Atlanta surrounded by cheering supporters. Just hours before tonight's history-making debate. For the first time, a sitting president and a former president squaring off on the debate stage. The White House tonight saying the stakes could not be higher.
So I'm on my way to Atlanta. You probably have heard, about the debate.
The First Lady with this message for Americans watching at home.
So I want you tonight, when you see them both debating, I want you to hear Joe's words. But most of all, I want you to listen to his heart.
Donald Trump touching down here in Atlanta just minutes ago. For months, the former president has mocked Biden's stamina and questioned his mental fitness. But as the debate approached, Trump's tone changed.
I assume he's going to be somebody that will be a worthy debater. Yeah, I would say. I think okay. I don't want to underestimate him.
Tonight, the two candidates will stand behind podiums 8 feet apart. There will be no studio audience. Trump has complained about that. But sources close to the campaign tell me they hope it keeps him on message. And another big difference. The candidates' microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak, an effort to prevent another scene like this.
The radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
President Biden tonight seeking to draw a direct contrast with his rival. preparing to call out Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election and the Capitol riot on January 6.
He's willing to sacrifice our democracy, put himself in power.
Trump's team telling me they've prepared for those attacks, and they're advising Trump to focus on other issues: immigration, crime, and the economy.
We had the greatest economy ever, and he's got an economy that is so bad with inflation.
Donald Trump and President Biden have not seen each other since they last stepped off the debate stage 4 years ago. And tonight, they'll meet again in the most consequential moment yet of this campaign.
4 years ago, and yet here we are again tonight. Let's get live to Rachel Scott. She's at the debate site right there in Atlanta, in the spin room, where, of course, both campaigns will spin their candidates' performances after the debate. Rachel, you mentioned there in your report, no studio audience tonight. The candidates will only have their mics turned on when it's their turn to speak. From my understanding, they're also not allowed to have any sort of pre-written notes. They can write something once they get in there. And they're not allowed to confer with aides during the debate's 2 commercial breaks.
David, no conversations with aides or advisors. The candidates also will not allowed to bring anything pre-written on that debate stage. They will be allowed to write notes down once they do get behind the podium. And once this debate begins, it is just the 2 candidates and the moderators all alone for 90 minutes. No studio audience to cheer them on. We'll see whether those mock debates that the president has been doing will ultimately pay off, and which version of Donald Trump shows up tonight. The former president who's on the attack, or a much more measured version of the former president who wants to stay on message, David.
Rachel, thanks so much for leading us off tonight. Let's get right to our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, with me here in New York. It's impossible to overstate the stakes for the current president, the sitting president, Joe Biden, who is aware of the poll numbers, obviously, going into tonight. Also aware of the questions about age and fitness, though both of them, 78 and 81. And on the economy, which has been such a difficult issue for him, created millions of jobs, inflation is easing, but we hear voters tell us over and over again that they feel as though their money simply isn't going as far.
Well, look, the campaign, first of all, is well aware of what is on the line here tonight. And the president's goal here is to hammer into voters the enormity of what is at stake in this race. He has been doing it for months out on the campaign trail, but never before in this race has he had an opportunity to reach an audience this large. And they feel that, look, Donald Trump supporters aren't going anywhere. That is fully baked. But they do feel that he doesn't have a lot of room to grow. So the president tonight is going to try to reach out to those critical, independent, undecided voters and see if he can convince them to join him. But perhaps more important than the substance, many voters will be paying close attention to his performance. The president has to convince voters who are concerned about his age that he can do this, and also convince worried Democrats that he can win, David.
And the question, the independents put him over the top last time. Yeah. Will they do it again this time, 4 years later? Mary Bruce, stick right there. You're with us for the coverage tonight. Let's bring in Rick Klein, our political director, over at the big board tonight. And Rick, of course, these new national polls that are just out tonight, they show just how close this race is. And, of course, our new 538 polls of polls.
Exactly, David. If you look at the latest polls that we have nationally of anything from a Trump 6-point lead to a Biden 2-point lead, and you combine it all together, and our 538 polling average has it basically tied, just 0.2 of a percentage point separating the candidates. And it hasn't moved for months. If anything, maybe a slight bump for Biden since Trump's criminal conviction a month ago, but it is tight as can be. And when it comes to the big issues that voters want to hear about tonight and through the campaign, look at the big ones. Inflation, half the country says that's important to their vote. Immigration, more than a third of the country. Those are both Trump advantages, big edges in Trump's trust to handle those issues over Biden. The big Biden issues, including political extremism and abortion rights, a little bit lower on the priority list, David.
So when you look at those numbers, President Biden fully aware that on inflation, immigration, he's got to make this case tonight. All right, Rick Klein at the big board, Mary Bruce with us at the desk. You'll all be here just a short time from now. The debate live right here on ABC. You can watch the CNN presidential debate. Of course, we're going to carry it here on our network. Our team will be right here starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to help set up the night right here. Then, of course, the debate at 9 p.m. So 8 p.m. for the whole thing. And then we'll all watch together this debate at 9 p.m. here on ABC. In the meantime, we move on to the other news tonight, to the major news this Thursday, 24 hours after that Supreme Court document was mistakenly posted online. The justices officially now issuing this decision, testing state abortion bans and deciding whether women whose health is at risk should be allowed an abortion in the ER, what the Supreme Court has decided for now. Terry Moran at the Supreme Court again tonight.
Today, the official Supreme Court ruling on Idaho's abortion law makes clear women in Idaho can once again obtain emergency abortions if their health is at stake, at least for now.
It's a good start, I guess, but it's not enough.
The court's ruling identical to that mistakenly posted document yesterday. The justice is sending the case back to lower courts, at least temporarily clearing the way for Idaho ER doctors to provide an abortion if necessary to protect the mother's health. It's the first major state abortion case since the court overturned Roe v. Wade 2 years ago. Idaho is one of 21 states that have passed restrictions or bans on abortion since then. The decision coming just hours before tonight's presidential debate, with abortion sure to be a topic. President Biden's campaign quick to blame Donald Trump. Because Trump's Supreme Court majority overturned Roe v. Wade, women are being turned away from emergency rooms and forced to the brink of death before receiving the care they need. If Trump returns to the White House, he and his allies will ban abortion in all 50 states. Doctors in Idaho say the state law put on hold today ignores the realities of emergency care for pregnant women.
We need to be able to have all options on the table in order to protect that person that's in front of us, that pregnant person.
Another huge decision today from the court. The justice is dealing a devastating blow to a sweeping nationwide settlement for victims of the opioid epidemic. The settlement, negotiated for years, involved Purdue Pharma, makers of OxyContin, and members of the billionaire Sackler family, former owners of Purdue. Purdue and the Sacklers had agreed to pay $6 billion to victims, but in exchange, the Sackler family will be shielded from any future liability. But now that deal is off. The court saying U.S. bankruptcy law prevents the Sacklers from being let off the hook. Justice Neil Gorsuch, writing for the court, suggesting there may be a better deal on the horizon. Most of the plaintiffs supported the settlement and were stunned by the court's ruling. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, in a strong dissent, upset that those families won't see any of that money anytime soon, writing, "The decision is wrong on the law and devastating for more than 100,000 opioid victims and their families." Jill Chikowitz lost her brother Scott to an overdose 7 years ago.
It's devastating and it breaks my heart, but we're not quitting. We're standing back up, and we'll get back up and we'll come back stronger.
So many families in this country affected by this. I want to bring in Terry Moran live at the court again tonight. Terry, this $6 billion settlement really took years, as you know, hundreds of thousands of families involved. But the court essentially saying here the Sacklers might end up paying even more money. But everyone looking at this and saying that could mean many, many more years of waiting for these families.
Absolutely, David. Look, this is back to square one right now, and the court has struck down the key provision in this deal that shielded the Sacklers from future liability in exchange for those billions of dollars. Today, all the parties, including the Sacklers, issued statements saying they sincerely want to reach a new deal, but that certainly will take years. David?
Terry Moran with us at the Supreme Court. Terry, thank you. Meantime, there is new trouble tonight for Boeing, facing tough new sanctions from the NTSB after federal authorities say Boeing revealed details to reporters about what caused that door plug blowout at 16,000 feet, while the incident is still under investigation. Gio Benitez covers aviation.
Tonight, Boeing under fire, the embattled jet maker facing unprecedented sanctions from the NTSB for publicly disclosing details about that Alaska Airlines door plug blowout, now under federal investigation. In a scathing statement today, the federal agency saying Boeing blatantly violated NTSB investigative regulations and Boeing's signed party agreement with the NTSB by providing non-public investigative information to the media and speculating about possible causes of the January 5th door plug blowout, adding few entities know the rules better than Boeing. At issue, this highly choreographed and controlled tour of Boeing's factory in Renton, Washington on Tuesday, the first since the January incident. Here inside the 737 factory, each plane goes through 10 different stations with entirely different teams, and Boeing says that safety procedures have changed at all of those stations. Boeing telling us that Alaska Airlines jet had defects when it arrived from Spirit Aerosystems, and Boeing workers removed the door plug and bolts to make repairs. But no one ever documented that door's removal. A different crew later moving the plane outside and reattaching the door because of the weather. But Boeing says because the door's removal wasn't documented, those bolts were never put back.
Very transparently, the fact that one employee could not fill out one piece of paperwork in this condition and could result in an accident was shocking to all of us.
That Boeing 737 MAX 9 making more than 150 flights before that door plug flew off 16,000 feet in the air. And David, tonight Boeing has apologized to the NTSB, saying that it deeply regrets that some of the comments overstepped the NTSB's role. David.
Gio Benitez, who covers aviation. Thank you, Gio. There is a developing headline from Texas tonight, the first criminal indictments stemming from the school massacre in Uvalde more than 2 years ago now. Multiple reports tonight. A grand jury has filed criminal charges against 2 people for abandoning or endangering a child, a state felony. Authorities found officers arrived at Robb Elementary School and waited 77 minutes before confronting the shooter. 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers were killed. Uvalde School Police Chief Pete Arredondo is now one of the 2 potentially facing charges here, according to the San Antonio Express News. We turn now to Oklahoma tonight and the new ruling involving the Bible in public schools. That state now mandating teaching the Bible in schools effective immediately, calling it an indispensable historical and cultural touchstone. Here's Matt Rivers tonight.
Tonight, the top education official in Oklahoma directing all schools across the state to incorporate the Bible and the 10 Commandments into the curriculum, the new requirement for grades 5 through 12, effective immediately.
Every teacher, every classroom in the state will have a Bible in the classroom and will be teaching from the Bible in the classroom.
Oklahoma Superintendent Ryan Walters calling the Bible a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country. The move coming just days after Louisiana became the first state to require all public school classrooms to display the 10 Commandments. Texas and Utah weighing similar laws. Civil liberties groups are already suing Louisiana, arguing its new law is unconstitutional and violates the separation of church and state. Today's move by Oklahoma, they say, is part of a larger trend.
I think they are emboldened by this Supreme Court. I think the religious extremists saw the success they had with Roe versus Wade and are feeling emboldened all around the country. That is one of the reasons you're seeing this wave of Christian nationalism rising right now.
David, Oklahoma will be giving its school districts instructions on how to implement this policy for the upcoming school year, but the state superintendent says strict and immediate compliance is expected. David?
Matt Rivers in Los Angeles tonight. Matt, thank you. When we come back here, deadly storms in the Northeast, a man killed by a falling tree, and now a new round of severe storms from the plains all the way to the Northeast. We'll track it. Here in New York City tonight, the flaming e-bike pulled from a burning apartment building. They had to get people out. And look at this, dramatic images showing the moment a huge sinkhole 100 feet wide opens on a soccer field, the field disappearing. Where this played out in the middle of the country in a moment here. Tonight, we're tracking a new round of severe storms from the plains into the Northeast. Outside New York City, a husband and father was killed by a falling tree in his backyard. And now this new system we're tracking. Possible tornadoes, damaging winds and hail from Montana to Oklahoma. That storm threat then moving from Colorado there right into Pennsylvania tomorrow and Saturday. Here in New York, authorities with a warning tonight about the potential dangers of e-bikes using lithium-ion batteries. Firefighters pulling out an e-bike covered in flames from a burning apartment building in Midwood, Brooklyn. 4 people were hurt, one in critical condition tonight. Firefighters say the fire was sparked by a charging lithium-ion battery. They say multiple batteries were actually on fire inside. When we come back here tonight, Walgreens revealing plans to close hundreds of stores, and that dramatic surveillance video tonight showing a massive sinkhole swallowing a soccer field. To the index, and tonight, Walgreens revealing plans to close hundreds of stores nationwide without giving an exact number or the locations. CEO Tim Wentworth now saying the company could shutter more than 2,000 of its 8,600 stores. He says closures will target stores not profitable or too close to one another. A massive sinkhole swallowing part of a soccer field in Alton, Illinois, right outside St. Louis. Surveillance showing the moment the sinkhole opens up on the field. Watch as the field disappears in a matter of seconds. Authorities are blaming mining work being done underneath that park. The hole about 100 feet wide. Thankfully, no one was on the field at the time. That's quite something. Well, late today, the headline involving the new father and son team for the LA Lakers, the team drafting Bronny James, the oldest son of LeBron James. LeBron has repeatedly said it's been his dream to play together with his son. If Bronny makes the roster, the father-son duo would be a first for the NBA. Stay tuned. When we come back tonight, the Dodgers bat boy and the stunning play making him the team's new MVP, saving his $700 million teammate. Before we go tonight, the bat boy, who may be the Dodgers' most valuable player during last night's game against the White Sox, Javier Herrera here, catching a line drive foul ball barehanded in the dugout, protecting Shohei Ohtani from being hit in the face. Carrera, who's been a bat boy for 20 years, saving the $700 million star from what could have been a serious injury. He gave the ball to a fan, by the way. As you know, the presidential debate right here on ABC tonight. We start at 8 p.m. Eastern, the debate live on ABC at 9 p.m. And I'll see you very soon. Until then, good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.